Mr. Paradise, picking Paradise, and I am back here to beat this dead horse a little bit more. So, Mako 427 versus the 1100s. If you didn't watch the two previous videos, check those out. Did a whole bunch of comparisons and had the pins out. And now basically I've got these 5 locks that are a mixture of Makos, Mako with the pins, American cores, Mako with the springs, Makos without the springs. I've got it all mixed up. But I think I've got a good conclusion, and I think I know what the primary factors are and what makes the Mako, and here it is, Mako Lock 427, I'm going to say is a little bit more of a challenging pick than the 1100s, and I'm going to elaborate on why I think that. Now, obviously, for me, I have a lot of experience with the 1100s, and I picked them fairly quickly, and I haven't found any to really put up that big of a fight. Unless they're old, then they kind of put up a bigger fight. But new ones, right out of the package, they're not going to put up that much of a fight. Here's why. So the Mako 427 has some pins. If you look at that previous video, I compare the pins side by side. Deeper serrations, a little bit of a deeper spool, a shallower spool, but no serrations on the spools, and the serrated pins are a deep serration versus shallow serrations on these guys. Now, I think that the pins do play a primary factor, but surprisingly enough, when I took these two here, which this Mako 427 has American pins in it, but Mako springs, and this American lock has Mako pins and American springs. Doesn't act that different. Very, very similar to an 1100. Now, it does act different, and I can tell the difference that the pins are slightly different. I can tell that it's harder to kind of get out of the serration. It locks that core up a little bit more, which leads us back to why I think a little bit harder tension and why the pins feel a lot stiffer in the Mako 427 when you're kind of stuck on a serration or on a spool. When the pin's loose, it's loose, versus an American lock, whenever the pin, you barely touch it and it sets, or it clicks over to the next serration. So you need to have really light pick tension on the 1100s. That's pick tension. That's how much tension you're applying with your pick and how hard you're pushing up on the pins. Versus the Mako 427, you can push them up pretty good, and then when they're kind of tight, you gotta release that tension pretty much all the way and then push this up to get it to pop past those deep serrations and or deep spools. The American 1100, those springs are copper springs, and they're a little bit lighter, and they're perfectly the size, the length of those springs. You can drop the driver pin into the Bible with the spring, and it barely be over the shear line, which again is why it requires such light tension. And with the lightest of touch, you can set or overset this. Now, why does that make it easier? Well, I think that makes it easier because the defined, how light you're holding and how defined that little click, 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 and then also how defined the set of that core rotating and dropping into place. You can really tell when you've hit the shear line. Versus the Mako 427 has a little bit of a longer steel spring, and the spools are a little bit deeper, and the serrations are definitely deeper. I think that it's a little bit tougher to tell when you overset, and it's easier to overset because of how much pick pressure you have to apply up on these guys and how much tension you have to release off. So back to this Mako 427, which has American pins, but 427 springs, it acted very, very similar. It was more challenging to pick than 1100. This one, not that much more different than 1100. I think this is a stock one. This one out of the group that I've been picking for the last 2 or 3 days here is definitely by far the most challenging. Now this was pretty challenging anyway when it was in the 427 body, but basically what we have over here is we have the 427, we have the American core, but we've got the Mako pins and springs inside of American 1100 core and log body. And it's a challenging pick. I think I also made it a little bit more challenging last time I reassembled. I juggled some of the spools around and maximized them. It's a nice, fun pick. Still getting into it around a minute or so, but it's a really fun pick. Now, this Mako 427, I believe has, I got the wrong key there, has the American 1100 springs and American pins, and it acts pretty much just like an 1100. So we beat the dead horse. I'm going to conclude the video. I love the Makos. I love the 1100s. I got tons of these 1100s, and now that I've got all my new 1100s in to replace all my old practice ones, I'm going to be doing a giveaway soon to get rid of some of my 1100s. 'Tis the season, so time to give some stuff away, I guess. But Mako 427s, if you haven't gotten any, if you haven't picked any, go ahead and order them. They're fun locks, man. They're good. I think because of those springs and the key pins, definitely makes it more challenging than an 1100. And that is my opinion. Chime in on the comments below. I'll see what you guys think. But Mako 427, I'm going to keep picking them, see if I can ever get them as quick and as easy as the 1100. But for now, Mako does win the war on this one, I think. Keep picking.